My boss accused me of fraud after 5 years of loyalty, and it almost destroyed my life. I, 29M, was working at the same mid-sized marketing firm for 5 years. I started right out of college, climbed from a junior assistant to one of the lead campaign analysts, and I genuinely cared about my work. I wasn't trying to be some corporate superhero or anything. I just liked doing a good job. I was one of those people who stayed late, triple-checked client reports, and even took over projects when others bailed. My boss, Craig, not his real name, always seemed decent. Firm but fair, kind of detached, but not abusive. We weren't friends, but I respected him, until everything unraveled. About 4 months ago, I noticed some weird discrepancies in our budgeting software. A couple campaign invoices had been marked processed under my user ID, but I hadn't touched them. I flagged it to our finance lead, thinking it was just a clerical thing or a system glitch. She looked into it, didn't say much. 3 days later, HR called me into a meeting. Craig was there. So was the head of HR and a compliance officer. They told me that they had overwhelming internal evidence that I had been submitting false vendor invoices and redirecting money to a private account. I actually laughed. I thought it was a misunderstanding. But then they showed me PDFs, records, payment logs, all of it pointing to my system access, my credentials, my digital signature. $82,000. I couldn't breathe. I started shaking and trying to explain, I didn't approve these. I don't even know what half of those vendor names are. Craig just looked at me like I was garbage. No sympathy, no curiosity, just this cold, rehearsed disappointment. HR said I was being temporarily suspended pending investigation, but I could tell from their tone it was already over. I walked out of the building with none of my stuff, no defense, no one even looking me in the eye. My access was revoked an hour later. I went home, locked the door, and cried. I hadn't done anything wrong. Nothing. But it was like a switch had flipped. 5 years of hard work, and I was suddenly dirt to them. The worst part? I couldn't prove my innocence. The fraud had been done under my login. The IP matched my work computer. The timestamps were during times I was in the office. And the bank account that the money was funneled into? It had a name that was very close to mine. Same initials, same city. Just a different middle name. It felt intentional. It felt framed. Update. It's been a few weeks since I last posted, and honestly, things have gotten worse in ways I didn't think were even possible. After I was suspended, I tried to stay hopeful. I thought, okay, maybe there's some due process. Maybe they'll look deeper and realize this was a setup. They didn't. A week later, I got a formal termination letter. They concluded I had knowingly and repeatedly committed financial misconduct and cited breach of ethics, violation of contract, and loss of organizational trust. It read like I was some MasterCon artist. No severance. No recommendations. Nothing. I tried contacting Craig directly, the man I worked under for 5 years. He ghosted me. Didn't return my calls. Didn't answer my email. Just vanished. Then I found out they reported me to the National Marketing Accreditation Board and filed a fraud report to the police. I haven't been charged yet, but I did get a visit from a financial crimes officer who asked me a bunch of pointed questions. I was polite. I explained everything, and they weren't rude, but I could tell they thought I was full of it. My name is in internal blacklists. I applied to 6 different marketing jobs. 2 ghosted me. 1 told me they found concerning details during the background check. 3 others just rejected me flat out. And then I got a text from an old coworker who I trusted. Apparently, Craig called an internal meeting after I was fired and told everyone they had uncovered extensive fraud by a former employee who had breached multiple systems. He didn't name me, but it was obvious who he meant. He even told people not to engage with any external inquiries, saying it was an ongoing legal matter. So now even people I worked with, people who knew me, think I'm a thief. I'm barely sleeping. I'm constantly checking my emails in case a detective or lawyer suddenly comes for me. I haven't left my apartment in 3 days. What's worse, I'm running out of money. I had some savings, but between rent, bills, and legal consults, it's vanishing fast. And I can't get hired anywhere, because now I'm that guy who stole from his company. But here's the part that really messes with my head. I think Craig knew exactly what he was doing. I started digging, not just into the fake vendors, but into company practices. And I noticed something strange. The same 4 vendors appeared in multiple departments, all approved by different analysts. But those analysts don't work there anymore. All were let go for performance issues. All had glowing reviews before that. And now I wonder, am I just the latest scapegoat? I don't know who to trust anymore. I don't know how to clear my name. I just know I'm being buried alive and nobody's listening. If anyone's ever dealt with something like this, please tell me how you proved your innocence. Because right now, I feel like I'm screaming into a void and my whole life is slipping away. Update 2. It's been just under a month since I lost my job. I wish I could say I've been fighting back, that I found some way to push through. But the truth? This is the lowest I've ever been in my life. I'm not even sure why I'm updating. Maybe I just need to feel like someone, anyone, is listening. Because in the real world, I'm completely alone. After the last update, I tried getting legal help. I found a local employment attorney who was willing to give me a free consultation. She was nice, but honest, proving I was framed without internal access to company systems or a whistleblower inside would be extremely difficult. Her exact words were, "They've done a terrifyingly good job at making this look like it was you." She gave me the hourly rate for deeper help. I couldn't afford it, not even close. So I did what I never thought I'd have to do. I sold my car. It was old, but it ran. I cried when the buyer drove it away. That car had taken me to every job interview, every late-night client pitch, every stupid work retreat I never wanted to attend. It wasn't just metal, it was my independence. Now I'm taking buses and walking. It's humiliating. I also had to tell my landlord I might be late on next month's rent. She wasn't cruel, but the shift in her tone said it all. Concern laced with suspicion. Like I was already some kind of problem tenant she'd need to deal with soon. I haven't told my parents. We're not close, long history there, but this would shatter what little connection we have. They already think I'm too soft. I can't handle hearing, "I told you so," while I'm trying to hold myself together with duct tape and caffeine. I've applied to over 50 jobs now. Everything from temp admin work to remote customer service. I even applied to stock shelves at a 24-hour grocery store. Most don't respond. The few who do back out when they Google me. One recruiter literally said, "Sorry, our client's background software flagged your name for financial misconduct. We can't proceed." I wanted to scream. I wanted to punch something. But I just closed my laptop, sat on the floor, and stared at the wall for almost 2 hours. That night, I had a full-blown panic attack. I couldn't breathe. My heart was pounding so fast I thought I was going to die. I ended up in the ER. They said it was stress-induced and gave me a sedative. I couldn't afford the visit. It went on a credit card I'll probably never pay off. I'm having dark thoughts. Not about hurting anyone else. Just that if I disappeared, it wouldn't matter. That my life is already over. That Craig got what he wanted. That I was a pawn in some scheme I'll never untangle, and now I'm just the casualty. I used to be someone. I used to be good at what I did. Now I'm a cautionary tale people whisper about in HR meetings. But here's the tiny spark that's keeping me from giving up completely. I found a Reddit thread. Someone talking about being framed in a corporate setting. A former IT technician commented that most internal systems leave hidden metadata logs that HR and management usually overlook, and that a copy of that metadata may still be cached in offline backups or old emails if you ever sync your devices. And guess what? I used to back up my emails to a local drive. I'm digging through it now. It's slow and messy and most of it is irrelevant, but I might have something. A timestamp discrepancy. A file attached to an invoice Craig said I processed, but metadata shows it was created on a different machine. Not mine. It's not proof yet, but it's a thread. And I swear to God, if I can pull on that thread long enough, maybe I can unravel all of this. I'm not okay. I don't know if I will be anytime soon, but I'm not done yet. Please, if anyone out there has ever found a way to fight back when it seemed hopeless, tell me how. Because I need to believe that this isn't how my story ends. Update 3. I don't even know where to start, but something is happening. If you read my last post, you know I was spiraling. I was broke, blacklisted, and barely keeping myself together. But I found that tiny clue, a thread, I called it, in my old email backups. A document Craig claimed I created had metadata showing it was made on a different machine. That clue saved me from giving up. Since then, I've spent every waking moment combing through backups, logs, and even my personal calendar app. I didn't realize how many times I exported meeting notes and internal memos to my local drive until now. That habit, once just me being paranoid about losing stuff, might end up saving my life. Here's where it gets crazy. I found 3 vendor invoices Craig said I created and submitted, but all 3 had metadata pointing to a different internal user alias. That alias? It was assigned to a former IT assistant named Donovan. I remember Donovan. Quiet guy. Tech whiz. Got laid off abruptly about a year ago during a department restructure. At first, I thought maybe he was behind the fraud. But then I looked deeper. One of the invoices tied to Donovan's alias was time-stamped a week after he left the company, which means someone was still using his credentials after he was gone. And guess who signed off on his exit paperwork? Craig. It was like finding a hairline crack in a sheet of glass. Once I noticed it, everything else started breaking. I pulled up a report I'd saved from last year. A team-wide review where Craig praised me for being the most efficient and trustworthy analyst on his team. The same man who now says I was funneling money under his nose for months. But here's the part that made my stomach turn. I found a forwarded email chain, buried in an old FYI folder I used to auto-label low-priority stuff. It was from the finance department, addressed to Craig. The subject line? Flagged vendor account, suspicious routing information. The date? 3 months before I was fired. That email never came to me. But the vendor they flagged? It's the same fake one Craig later accused me of inventing. He knew. He ing knew it was shady, and he buried it. Then 3 months later, used it to frame me. I felt sick. I actually had to stop reading and take a walk. I couldn't believe what I was looking at. Then it got worse. I remembered something a coworker said before I left. It's weird how Craig always acts like he's doing us a favor by keeping the lights on. I didn't think much of it then, but now it hit different. So I searched public records. Not company records, property, business listings, tax filings. And I found something. Craig owns 2 shell companies, both registered under generic names in different states. Guess what names showed up on 3 of the vendor payments I was accused of submitting? The same names. They weren't fake vendors. They were Craig's companies. The guy who fired me, ruined my name, and publicly painted me as a fraudster. He was using employees like me, to hide his own embezzlement. And when the heat got too close, he chose someone he knew wouldn't fight back. I was the perfect fall guy. Quiet, loyal, too trusting, no lawyer, no family backup, disposable. But he messed up. He didn't count on me keeping backups, or digging, or being too damn stubborn to let go. I don't know what to do next. I'm scared. If I go public, he'll lawyer up fast. If I go to the authorities, I need to be 100% airtight. But for the first time in weeks, I don't feel powerless. I feel dangerous. Craig thought he ended me. He just woke me up. Update 4. I don't know what's fueling me more right now, rage, adrenaline, or the sheer clarity of having nothing to lose. But I'm not waiting anymore. Craig burned my career to the ground. I've got the ashes, and now, I'm building the fire back with gasoline. Here's what's happened in the last 72 hours. After I discovered Craig's shell companies linked to the fraudulent vendor payments, and all that metadata proving someone else was behind the documents, I knew I couldn't sit on this alone. This wasn't just corporate backstabbing anymore. This was felony-level fraud and defamation. So I emailed the employment lawyer I'd spoken to earlier, the one who said I didn't have enough. Subject line: I found everything. I want to fight. She called me an hour later. I walked her through every shred of evidence. The metadata inconsistencies, the forwarded finance email he hid, the reuse of a terminated employee's alias, the matching business names to Craig's shell LLCs. I sent over PDFs, screenshots, folder logs, timestamp evidence, everything I'd documented obsessively over the last few weeks. She got quiet for a second, then said, "You have a real case now. A big one." By the end of that call, I had officially retained her. She looped in a white-collar criminal defense contact she knows, someone who specializes in wrongful corporate prosecution and financial frame jobs. We scheduled a meeting the next day. It cost me the last of my money, but he reviewed everything and set it straight. He didn't just frame you. He likely committed multiple felonies and may have done this before. If we move smart, this doesn't just end in a lawsuit. This ends in court. We're building the legal case twofold: defamation and wrongful termination suit against the company and Craig personally. Criminal fraud referral to the state's Financial Crimes Division and the IRS. Yeah, I went there. But here's where things really turned. My lawyer told me not to go public, yet. Not on social media, not in the news, not even internally. Because she suspects Craig is still active, possibly still running the same scam. If he thinks I'm still broken, still quiet, he won't scrub everything in time. And if we time it right, we might catch him in the middle of it. So I'm playing the part. Quiet, burned, unemployed, brooding. But behind the curtain, we've drafted subpoenas. We've identified at least 2 other ex-employees who may have been set up before me. We've even flagged payments Craig made to one of his companies that don't show up on official ledger reports, which could lead to tax fraud. And get this, my lawyer pulled company policy. There's a clause stating any termination based on internal investigations must be promptly documented with findings disclosed to all involved parties. Craig never gave me anything except the letter. That alone might void the NDA they forced me to sign. I'm shaking as I write this. Not from fear. From knowing that after everything, the humiliation, the isolation, the sleepless nights, the breakdowns, I finally have leverage. He thought I was easy to erase. He forgot I worked under him for 5 years. I know how he thinks. I know how he hides things. I know his patterns. He made me his scapegoat. Now I'm becoming his nightmare. Stay tuned. It's about to get loud. Update 5. He knows. Craig knows I've lawyered up. And he's cracking. I didn't leak anything publicly. I didn't email him. I didn't make a scene. But I did send an official request for all documentation related to my termination through my attorney. And that hit like a grenade. Here's how I know. Yesterday, one of my old co-workers, let's call her Lila, called me from a private number. I hadn't heard from her since I left. She sounded nervous, whispering, almost like she was calling from a bathroom stall. She said, Craig called an emergency meeting. Just the execs. 15 minutes after he stepped out, I saw him pacing outside the boardroom, sweating. Not angry. Scared. She said they started pulling archived Slack messages. Random file exports. Even HR got looped into a retroactive security audit. Lila told me the entire floor feels like something's wrong, like someone got caught, but they're not saying who. Nobody knows I sent the legal notice, except Craig, which means he hasn't told anyone yet. That's guilt. But here's the best part. He made a mistake. A big one. While all this was happening, my lawyer's forensic contact reviewed the fake vendor payments. Not just the metadata, but the IP logs. Guess what they found? 2 payments were initiated from a personal laptop that logged in through the company VPN. The IP address, registered under Craig's home Wi-Fi. The idiot did part of the fraud from his own house. Even worse, that laptop doesn't belong to the company. It's his. He brought it in sometimes for convenience. That ties the activity directly to him, personally, not as a manager, not under plausible deniability. As soon as we got that confirmation, my lawyer filed a second motion. This time not just for internal documents, but for data preservation. We demanded the company freeze all employee communications and system logs relating to vendor activity and whistleblower correspondence. Because now, this isn't just about getting my name back. It's about proving criminal intent. Meanwhile, I've started hearing whispers from other former coworkers. One of them, Adam, was let go 6 months before me. Budget cuts, supposedly. He messaged me. I don't want to assume, but I think he did something similar to me. The vendor he blamed me for? I never even worked on that client. My lawyer is reaching out to him now. The narrative is shifting. Quietly. But it's shifting. Craig tried to isolate me. Tried to make me feel like a disgrace. Like a liability. Like trash he could sweep out with a press of a button. But now, the eyes are turning inward. Whispers are becoming questions. His legacy? Becoming a liability. There's something darkly poetic about watching him unravel from a distance. Knowing the truth is a fuse, and every lie he told is a spark waiting to meet it. I'm not done. The end of this. It's going to be in court. And I'll be in the front row, not as a criminal. As the plaintiff. Update 6. It's unraveling faster than I expected. Craig tried to bury everything. And instead, he dug himself a hole so deep, he might never crawl out of it. Here's what just happened. After our legal team filed the data preservation request, we expected Craig to cooperate. Well, at least pretend to. But less than 24 hours later, my lawyer got a call from the company's own legal department. They were pissed. Apparently, someone tried to remotely purge internal server logs and communication archives tied to Craig's department. Not just delete files. We're talking a full override attempt, disguised to look like a scheduled IT backup. But here's where it gets hilarious and terrifying. The IT head had already been alerted about our request. So when the deletion attempt happened, it triggered an automated red flag. That's right. Craig tripped the company's own internal security system trying to wipe the logs. And now, he's under internal investigation. The IT head, let's call her Marissa, apparently stormed into the exec meeting the next morning with receipts. My lawyer said the company's counsel sounded furious on the phone. Not at me, at him. Because here's the kicker. If Craig had just complied, they could have written this off as an isolated incident. Maybe settled quietly. Maybe pinned it on miscommunication. But trying to destroy evidence after a legal preservation notice? That's obstruction. We now have 3 new weapons in our case. Proof of attempted evidence tampering. Company security reports showing the exact timestamps and user access that initiated the purge. An internal audit log showing Craig accessed specific Slack DMs and deleted messages before the purge. Oh, and the VPN login tied to his home IP address. My lawyer pulled his terms of employment and found a clause forbidding remote logins from unregistered devices for anything related to financial vendors. Violation of policy. Violation of law. And now, he's violated the company's trust. But here's the best part. Late last night, I got a DM from Craig's former assistant. She wrote, "I'm sorry I didn't come forward earlier. I think I was scared, but I saw things, payments, emails, vendor names. He asked me to forward documents to his personal email once. I didn't understand why, but I saved screenshots. Do you want them?" I nearly dropped my phone. This woman might have the final piece. The proof that Craig not only framed me, but knowingly orchestrated everything to funnel money into his own accounts while preparing me as the fall guy. She's meeting my legal team on Zoom tomorrow. And now the company has gone silent, which usually means they're lawyering up too. This has officially moved out of the petty HR drama zone. It's corporate warfare now. There are real stakes, criminal and civil, reputations, careers, and millions in liability. Craig tried to bury me. Now he's the one being buried, under a mountain of his own deceit. And I'm not stopping until he's completely exposed. Update 7. He snapped. Craig, the man who smugly handed me my termination letter and called me a disappointment after 5 years of loyalty, is now the one completely unraveling. And he just threatened me. Here's what happened. After his failed attempt to delete the internal logs, my lawyer submitted an expanded motion for full discovery access. That includes personal communications on company devices because of his policy violation. The company is panicking now, not because of me, but because they know what else they might find. And that's when Craig finally showed his real face. I got a call from a block number this morning. I never answer unknown calls anymore, but something told me to pick up. It was him. His voice was quiet, but frantic, like he'd been awake all night, chain smoking in the dark. "You think this is going to work?" he said. "You think they'll side with you after everything I gave them? You were a no one before I hired you." I didn't say a word, just listened. Then he dropped the mask. "I've seen people destroy themselves trying to take me down. I've made people disappear from this industry. If you keep this up, you're going to regret it. No one's going to hire a liability." He hung up before I could respond. And for a moment, I sat there, stunned. Not because I was scared, but because I realized he actually believes he still has power over me. The same man who got caught logging into the server from home, was flagged for evidence tampering, is under internal investigation, has a growing list of whistleblowers lining up behind me, thinks a veiled threat will make me crawl away. What he doesn't know? The call was recorded. My state allows one-party consent, and that recording is now in my lawyer's hands. We're filing a formal harassment complaint and adding witness intimidation to the case. The firm's general counsel has been informed. And from what I hear, Craig's office is being cleaned out today. Boxes, escort, badge disabled, no goodbye email, just gone. But that's not enough. This man tried to destroy my life. He used me to cover his fraud. He blackmailed, manipulated, and now he's threatening me? I'm not just coming for justice anymore. I'm coming for everything he thought he could get away with. The lawsuit is still moving forward. But now, with the threat recorded and multiple former employees providing corroboration, we're involving the state AG's office. This is bigger than just me now. This is about every single person he stepped on to build his empire of lies. He thinks I'm still the quiet, loyal employee who wouldn't dare stand up. But I'm not the same person he fired. And he has no idea what's coming next. Update 8. I thought I'd seen the worst of Craig. I thought his threats, his evidence tampering, his pathetic phone call would be his last desperate act. I was wrong. He tried to run, and they caught him. Here's how it all went down. After Craig threatened me on that call, my lawyer submitted the recording as part of our harassment and retaliation complaint. Meanwhile, our case had grown far beyond a wrongful termination. The state attorney general's office got involved, and federal investigators were looped in because of potential wire fraud and financial crimes across state lines. A subpoena was issued. Craig was officially under investigation, and his passport was flagged. But someone tipped him off. According to Lila, my old co-worker who's still quietly feeding me info, Craig was seen cleaning out his personal office files, not just work documents, but personal effects. Family photos, USB drives, cash envelopes. 2 nights ago, he didn't go home. Instead, he headed for the airport, a private jet hangar. The man tried to charter a last-minute flight to the Cayman Islands. But what Craig didn't know was that the subpoena included a travel restriction alert. When he arrived at the private terminal, TSA and federal agents were already waiting. He was arrested on the spot. They found 3 burner phones, a briefcase with $42,000 in cash, 2 forged documents under a fake consulting company, and a flash drive labeled simply P. Authorities are still combing through it, but insiders say it might contain vendor routing info, potentially proof of years of corporate embezzlement. The best part? I didn't find out from the news. I found out because the state prosecutor's office called me directly. We thought you'd like to know. You were right to speak up. This is far from over, but we've got him. I can't explain the feeling. For months, this man gaslit me, destroyed my career, tried to erase the evidence, threatened me, and tried to vanish like a ghost. And now, he's in custody. He's been charged with fraud, evidence tampering, and attempted flight to avoid prosecution. His bail has been denied, and his name is starting to hit headlines. Corporate fraud exec apprehended in airport sting. Former CEO tried to escape amid criminal probe. Ex-employee's lawsuit tied to multi-million-dollar embezzlement scheme. It's not just justice. It's vindication. But we're not done. My civil suit continues. The damages we're seeking have increased tenfold, not just for wrongful termination, but for reputational harm, emotional distress, and retaliatory threats. More employees are joining. A class action may be forming. The company is scrambling to save face. PR is in full meltdown. Board members are resigning. Craig thought he could disappear. Now his name is inked into the record, not as a leader, but as a liar. He tried to fly away with blood money. Now he's grounded, for good. Update 9. After months of chaos, courtrooms, media coverage, and depositions, it's finally done. The system worked. Craig, the boss who accused me of fraud, framed me, tampered with evidence, threatened me, and tried to flee the country, has now been officially found guilty in 3 separate cases. I've waited almost a year for this moment. Let me walk you through everything that just happened. 1. Federal criminal trial, wire fraud, embezzlement, obstruction of justice. This was the big one. The trial lasted 3 weeks, and the prosecution tore him apart. Thanks to the flash drive recovered from his briefcase. His ex-assistant's testimony, she absolutely crushed cross-examination. Internal vendor records and off-book payments tied directly to his accounts. The threatening call I recorded. His attempted escape, complete with cash, fake docs, and burner phones. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. Verdict: guilty on all 11 counts. Sentence: 22 years in federal prison, no parole, plus restitution of over $4.2 million to the company and affected third parties. He didn't even flinch when the judge read it. Just sat there, pale, glassy-eyed, defeated. 2. My civil suit. Wrongful termination, defamation, retaliation, emotional distress. This was personal. My team presented every step of my journey, from being falsely accused, to the emails Craig forged, to my mental breakdown and job loss, to the attempted intimidation. When the jury heard the company's own general counsel admit they had serious internal oversight failures, I knew we had it. Verdict: judgment in my favor on all claims. Awarded $650,000 in compensatory damages, $1.2 million in punitive damages, full reimbursement for legal fees. A formal written apology from the company, published both internally and in a press release. More importantly, my name is cleared. Completely. Legally and publicly. 3. Class action suit. Launched by other victims. Turns out, I wasn't Craig's only target. He had done similar things, on a smaller scale, to at least 6 other employees over the past 10 years. They were just too scared or demoralized to fight back. Once my case went public, they came forward. With my encouragement and legal support, they filed a joint class action civil case against the company for systemic negligence, wage theft, and hostile retaliation culture. Verdict: settled out of court for an undisclosed amount. All participants received settlements ranging from $80,000 to $450,000. The company has committed to a full internal restructuring and independent audit for 5 years. 3 board members resigned as part of the agreement. One of the former employees emailed me personally. You standing up gave the rest of us a spine. I hope you know that. What now? Craig is gone. He'll be in prison until he's in his 70s. His family, the ones who looked down on everyone, left the state quietly. The luxury cars and mansion, seized by the court. The company, still recovering, but now run by new leadership. They actually offered me a consulting role to help overhaul their ethics and transparency guidelines. I said no. I'm taking time for myself. I got an offer from a mid-sized firm across the country, a company that actually values integrity. I start next month. But more than the money, the reputation, or the verdicts, what I feel most is peace. It's over. He tried to destroy me. And in the end, he destroyed himself. I'm not just surviving now. I'm thriving. Final update. It's been a year. 12 months since the courtroom doors closed behind Craig. 12 months since the last headline faded. 12 months since I stopped checking over my shoulder. And I can finally say this. I made it. I didn't just survive what Craig did to me. I rebuilt everything he tried to destroy. My name, my confidence, my sense of self-worth. It wasn't easy. It wasn't quick. And there were days I didn't even get out of bed. But I kept going. After the verdicts, I took the consulting offers, interviews, and attention, and turned most of them down. I needed time to breathe, to remember who I was before all of this. For a while, I worked part-time with a nonprofit that helps whistleblowers and victims of workplace retaliation. It felt grounding, helping people who were where I had been. Then, about 6 months ago, I launched my own firm. Small, tight team. All people I trust. We specialize in internal compliance, digital forensics, and ethical audits. It's still early, but we've already signed 3 major clients. The irony? One of them is a direct competitor of my old company. I didn't plan revenge. I didn't seek them out. But when they heard my name, they said, "You're the guy who stood up." They didn't see me as the man who got fired. They saw me as the one who fought back and won. Financially, I'm more secure than I've ever been. But that's not the real success. The real win? I sleep at night. I go home to my apartment. Not a mansion, not a high-rise, but mine. Quiet. Safe. Peaceful. I cook dinner. I walk my dog. I read actual books again. I stopped checking my phone for messages from lawyers or threats. I started laughing again. Real, ugly, belly-deep laughter. Craig's name doesn't send a jolt through my spine anymore. He's behind bars. Forgotten. Exactly where he belongs. But me? I'm just getting started. The world is different when you reclaim your story. When you stop letting people like him narrate who you are. He thought he ended me. But all he did was force me to build something better. If you're reading this and you've been through something similar, know this. You can come back. Stronger. Wiser. Freer. I don't need headlines or courtrooms or applause anymore. I have my life back. And for the first time in years, I actually love it.